in 98 een goede Vuelta heeft gereden, stapt hij in 99 op met een ploeg die goed rijdt. Hij wint zelf de proloog in Puy de Fou. De tijdrit in Metz gaat ook heel erg crescendo. De vraag is echter, weet hij nog met welk rugnummer hij daar opstapte?
181. And can I tell you why I remember that? I mean...
Go on.
Okay. Because I don't have much cycling stuff in my house. You've been in my house.
Yeah.
But I have that room, I have the jerseys, and they're all 7 years there. And everybody walks in and says, why does that one say 181? All the other ones said 1. And everybody asks, the first question, it never fails. People stand there and they look at them and they go, why does that say 181? So that's what I mean. And every time I'm in a race and I see some guy that wears 181, I think,
hey,
fucking good number.
De ploeg van Armstrong bestond dat jaar uit renners als Andreu, De Ramé, Hamilton, Hinkepie, Livingston, Van der Velde, Voorters en een Deen, Meindert Nielsen. Herinnert hij zich deze nog?
From what I was told, and the thing that I will never forget, is that he lived on a boat. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think he lived on a boat in Denmark, in the port. And I always thought, how the hell? I mean, I could live on a boat in the Caribbean, no problem. But how could you live on a boat in a port in Denmark? It must be cold as hell. But he lived on a boat.
He didn't say much. He was a silent one.
He's very quiet. He's very quiet. Won the time trial Tour of Holland one year, didn't he?
True.
Yeah.
Good, good.
I also remember that.
Yeah.
In 2000 is Jan Ullrich zijn grote tegenstander. Toch eindigt de Duitser op ruim 6 minuten. De tijdrit tussen Fribourg en Mulhouse is geweldig qua publieke opkomst. Voor Armstrong, wat was je beste dag dat jaar?
Oh, I mean, Rotterdam was by far the best day. Maybe the best day that I had on a bike.
Ochoa won the stage.
If you look back at that day,
yeah,
and you think about Ochoa, you think about the characters. In my mind, I think about the characters that made up that day. Ochoa, who's no longer with us. Jimenez, who's no longer with us. And Pantani, who's no longer with us. I mean, it's just...
That is frightening,
it's
man.
Scary,
that was
man.
my question.
Scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah. And I also remember passing Nico Matan. And I remember thinking, I need a little help here. And I yelled at him. I said, Nico. And he gave me, we were going uphill. He gave me about 200 meters, and I was on the wheel. And then he pulled off, and he gave me a little wink. I said, okay, thank you.
Er zaten 2 vreemde vogels in de ploeg. Een Luxemburger, Benoit Joachim, en een Noor die helemaal niemand kende. En die noemden wij met z'n allen Kjergaard.
Strong guy. Met him, or raced against him the first time in 1998 at the Tour of Luxembourg, and then I think afterwards at this small race in Germany. Good dude. Terrible ears. Had one ear, I don't remember which one, he couldn't hear out of. Yeah, so it was a big joke, you know, if you were on one side, he would not, you could talk loud. He wouldn't even know you were talking to him. Wow. His nickname was Kinky. And we had some director, I think, on the team that couldn't say Kjergaard. He's like, no, maybe it was a team presentation, some shit race somewhere, and you know they're naming off all the guys, Lance Armstrong, blah blah blah, and he goes, Stefan Kinky. So from then on, we called him Kinky, which is not a good nickname to have.
No.
In 2001 valt de overwinning op Pla d'Ader op. Hij verslaat Ullrich weer en weer met meer dan 6 minuten. Het lijkt een makkelijke overwinning. Jan was zijn grootste tegenstander, maar wat maakte die zege in dat jaar zo speciaal?
Yeah, stressful but easy.
What was the stress? Jan?
Yeah,
You beat him on 7 minutes.
Yeah, but I think he did the Giro in 2001.
Yeah.
He did the Giro. And he came in 2000 he came in heavy. 2001 he did the Giro, started riding better at the end of the Giro, and he came in light. So we were thinking he'd be good.
But you killed him on Alpe d'Huez.
Alpe d'Huez, but I mean that was
Was that your best day?
either that or Hautacam 2000, but maybe Alpe d'Huez in 2001 has to be, in my opinion, looked at over the course of the whole day. The way that the bluff and the way that that we acted, and it was my favorite day.
Funny thing is, remember the stage to Pontarlier? They should have thrown you out. Everybody was out.
The 30-foot, we were way, yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
All day pissing rain.
Terrible, cold. And another rider who's no longer with us, Andrei Kivilev. A couple of days before, there was a big selection, and half the peloton lost 15 minutes, and our half gained 15 minutes. He was in that group, and he was impossible to get rid of the rest of the Tour de France. Had he been in that front split and made the group into Pontarlier, he would have won the Tour de France. And then he died a couple of years later on that descent into Saint-Étienne and Paris-Nice. Yeah.
Must be full there in heaven.
Yeah.
Hij wint in 2002 de proloog in Luxemburg. Roemsas wordt derde en Jalabert tweede. Dan is er ook nog een opvallende rit op de Plateau de Bijen. Daar wordt hij eerste en Heras tweede. Uit dat jaar wil ik weten wat hij van de hele uitgave vond.
All these years have these moments where you say, I know that. I know. Of all of them, 02 was the one I mean, my biggest memory of 02, especially having just been in Luxembourg, was the prologue in Luxembourg.
Second Jalabert. And the third
at the time check, Jalabert was up by 5 seconds. Yeah. And I liked Jalabert, but at the same time, we were such rivals for a long time. Johan came on the radio and he said, "You're 5 seconds down to Jalabert." And I said, "Okay, now it's time." And I wish I could still do that, but I just gassed it. And it was that climb back up to the city of Luxembourg, and I ended up winning by 2 seconds or something. But outside of that...
In 2003 won Armstrongs ploeg de ploegentijdrit. In het algemeen klassement werd Vinokourov derde op 4:14. En het was spannend met Jan Ullrich dus, op 1 minuut 1. Wat vond hij hiervan?
Everybody's favorite, because it was close. My least favorite, because it was hard and stressful.
Were you okay there?
A lot of stuff going on in my life. I mean, I had a marriage that was unraveling, which was, I think, for most people that have been in that position, it's tough. I mean, emotionally it's tough, and personally it's tough. I had other little physical things. I had the crash in Dauphiné, which took a lot out of me. Never felt physically right after that. But just this combo of things. It was the 5th tour, so that weighs on you. Thinking, God, am I going to join this club of guys that have won 5 tours? Oof.
Zijn ploeg dat jaar? Heras, Beltran, Ekimov, Hinkepie, Lendis, Peña, Rubiera en een Tsjech, Pavel Paternos.
Combination of big and strong. I mean, it's good to have those big guys where
Likeable?
Very likable.
Silent?
Silent at first, but then once you get to know him and he got to know you, then he would talk more. His
But
English
he worked his...
Yeah, he was great. I mean, and he was those guys, listen, I mean, all those guys back in the day knew me, and I knew them. And some of those guys are still around, so I still do, I still race with Popovich, for example. He knows exactly the way I want to ride in the group. My best Pavel Padrinos story was somebody asked a question in the race and about a climb or something that he knew, and in English we say, if you say, yeah, roughly, you say it's more or less. And he comes on the radio and he was just learning his English, and you could tell he had been practicing crazy. And he says, yeah, less or more. So from then on, when something was more or less, we would say, well, it's less or more.
That's Pavel.
Oh, that's Pavel. He's a good dude.
In 2004 wordt hij in de Dauphiné verslagen door de Spanjaard Mayo. In de Tour is er die hele gekke, lange sprint op Grand Bornand als hij niet wil verliezen van Kleude. Hij pakt hem nog net terug. Maar ik ga terug naar de proloog van Luik. Hij werd verslagen. Door wie?
Cancellara.
By how much?
A young Cancellara. I don't know. I don't remember by how much.
2 ticks.
2 seconds?
Yep.
Well, that's enough. I mean, that's he showed his flat in Liège. Went out, round, big sweeping roundabout, and then back in. And Ulrich was surprisingly far behind that day. So he was the big rival, like most years. And he was well down, which was a surprise to us. Somebody fell off the start ramp, I remember. I don't know. I remember if it was Peter Farazine or Matt White. Matt White fell off, and Farazine had to drive in. Fell off, cracked his head, and they had to sub somebody. Stupid shit like that, you remember.
En als je zijn ploeg hier ziet rijden, dan klopte het allemaal wel. Met rug nummer 2 was een nieuwe vent opgestaan. Die heette Acevedo en kwam uit Portugal.
The greatest thing about Acevedo, aside from the person that he is, because he's wonderful, wonderful man, works for our team now. That winter, that off-season, Heras wanted to leave the team, wanted to go lead the team, wanted to go lead Liberty or whatever he was going to do. And I remember these English magazines, cycling magazines, and all this, American stuff was like, adios, Lance. Like, it was just this big crisis. And I remember calling Johan going, what the fuck are we going to do? Who are we going to get? And he goes, we're going to get Acevedo.
And you said?
And I go, huh? He goes, and Acevedo was going from Once to a small Portuguese team. And I said, how are you going to get him? He's got a contract. He says, we're going to get him. And everybody said, oh, they've lost Heras. And
now he's very.
They didn't even say they replaced Heras with Acevedo. They just said, oh, Heras is gone and he's not going to have anybody in the mountains. And how good was Acevedo that year? I mean, he was fourth in the Tour. I think he was fourth. Fourth. And, I mean, there were stage in the Pyrenees there. 3 guys left, he and I and Basso. I mean, he was and such a loyal guy.
Could you talk to him?
Yeah.
In English?
He was sharp. He learned English quick. A good dude.
In 2005 was het algemeen gemiddelde 41 kilometer en 654 meter. Dat is heel erg veel. Ploeggenoten van hem wonnen ook etappes. Maar het mooiste was de proloog. Wat was daarmee aan de hand?
The opening time trial was big. Disappointing not to win. I think
But the moment you blew over Jan.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world looked in astonishment.
Yeah. Well, a funny story was I went out, I never warm up on the road for time trials. And I'll never forget this for some reason. And I went out that day and I found some quiet roads and I was riding and there was a guy walking to the race and he wanted to take a picture and do the whole thing. And like we talked about earlier, and he said, "Can I take?" And I was thinking, I'm warming up for the Tour de France prologue. I'm not gonna stop and take a picture. And I got about 100 meters past this guy, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna stop. And so I stopped, and I went back, and I said, let's take the picture. And this guy was like, did he just turn around and come back? And so we took the picture, just he and I. He was alone. And I took the picture, and I went off and finished my warm-up. And just like, that was such a perfect day, I thought, you know, it's 'cause I did that, I guess. I mean, I was well prepared and I was motivated, but I thought that was just unexpected for that guy. And then, but yeah, I mean, that was a big moment.
Armstrong won zelf dus 7 keer. Maar hij had een fan bij zich die ook 7 keer mee wist te winnen. George Hincapie is de naam. Die zelf won op Pla d'Adet en daar zeer trots op was. Hincapie dus, een herinnering.
Oh, I mean, loyal doesn't begin to describe him. But it's even bigger than that. I mean, obviously there were 7 tours together, and you even speak about we're still together in a lot of ways. But it goes back to when we were 17 years old at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. So you really have a 20-plus year history there that, fortunately, it all worked out that he was there. He was amazingly, as I said, loyal, but he was also strong. He was a true caretaker in the race. And he was a winner. I mean, he probably could have won more races for himself if he would have had...
But he was that loyal?
Oh, yeah. In my opinion.